What would your answer to this be? And let's even not just limit it to these three characters, but any character on the show. Because I would be so bold as to say that my answer would be none of these people. I think that the false notion, especially in Sansa's case, that was pushed that I think is really kind of toxic and problematic is that somehow by being tortured and brutalized, that then leads someone to become like powerful and strong, thus putting forward this very, very problematic notion that a person can only attain inner strength if someone brutalizes them first. I would say similarly with Theon, this is kind of the arc, although his arc is actually I think a little bit different. But especially like I remember in season 8, there's this moment about the little bird and how she doesn't become a little bird anymore. And I just don't like that trope that like a woman needs to be like horribly treated because that's how she gets her power. It's like, no, Sansa was already like a really smart badass from the beginning, and she could have become just as competent, kind, strong, brilliant, all of these things without enduring all of the things that she endured. And I don't like the substitute of like abuse as development. There's a more eloquent or like logical way to say this, but I think you know what I'm trying to express. And I just felt like, especially in season 8, there was like some kind of cringy moments for me where her character was reduced to what Ramsay did to her, as if this was like the emboldening force to her becoming a strong woman. And I just really thought that was like really toxic and sick. And I also just didn't like in general how the show would like do so much violence against women, because it's like, ugh, this, I know it's like a medieval like world and like things were just debaucherous and crazy. And I also know it's fantasy, so it's not real. But I just think like a lot of times like systems of real world harm like replicate themselves in the fantasy worlds that we create. But anywho, this is like a long-winded thing to say that I think the character with the best development was probably Tyrion. And I think that not only did he have to overcome really interesting and multifaceted childhood trauma with like the neglect from his father, the precarious notion that he had amongst his sibling line, the regaining loss of power and fortune, his relationship with his siblings, his relationships to knowledge, to power acquisition. He also seemed to like overcome his ego. I don't know. I just think that he probably had the most nuanced and complex development. But I wouldn't say that his character is maybe his character is my favorite. I don't know. But I think this is probably my answer. And I think I just had a strong aversion reaction to the question. I love that account, by the way. This is like no shade to like that account. But I just don't like this notion that Theon and Sansa, who were like just abused, that's treated as like a development arc, because abuse isn't character development. Like it's like this notion that like being poor teaches you all these things. It's like, no, being poor just teaches you how to be poor. Like you don't have to be poor to understand that like how unfair the world is. Like there's these notions that like you can only attain knowledge through suffering. And I just think that's not true. I think that's bullshit. And I think that allows so much like abuse in our world to happen. But anyways, why am I going on a long tangent about this? Like maybe I should stop now.